Okay, so today, we're not going to do 8.3 that was on the schedule. Today is just going to be a day for review. Very straightforward. I don't think it'll take the whole hour and 15 minutes, but we're not going to cover anything new today. Okay, so it's going to be based a lot off of your questions from homework or from other tests, things of that nature. And like I couldn't find test one to plug back in, so I was going to go over kind of a short review from test one that just from the homework, just pulling questions that you should look at, because that was just the best way to do it than having to plug something in and okay. So before I get started with the test one that you guys, you don't have in your actual Blackboard, are there any questions? I mean, the main thing is the test is going to be open. Actually, I think it's open right now, 8 o'clock. And it's going to be open till Thursday at midnight. You guys got an email about this. I talked about it yesterday as well. It'll be open till Thursday at midnight. You've got to get it done. I can't let you turn anything late because I have to turn in final grades by Friday morning. So all of my grades have to be turned in by Friday morning. So you've got today and you've got tomorrow to do it. We will not have class tomorrow. Okay. So it's just the final. So there's no class tomorrow. If you need that time to take the final, that's fine. I can get in here and see how much time you have. I believe you have like 2 hours and 15 minutes or 2 hours and 30 minutes, something like that. You've got a long time to put towards it. And you have enough time to complete it. Okay. So do you guys have any questions other than me just starting in?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
On 1 or 3, I have no clue what I did wrong.
Okay. Which one? Now, what page is that on?
That is 607.
Let me see here. What number was it?
1 or 3.
Okay, yeah. I'll tell you, these take the longest because really you could factor it. So they kind of take the longest with it. Let's just do number 1.
Okay.
Okay. Let me switch over to the document camera. This is number 1 on page 607. There we go. Okay. So we've got m squared plus 5m minus 6 equals 0. It's set up in the right form, right? So now we just need the a, b, and c. And then we're going to put it in. So m equals, right? Negative b plus or minus the square root, b squared minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a. And I'm going to go through, Amanda, like kind of the most common ways to miss this one.
Okay.
And first is underneath this radical. So 5 squared is 25, right? But then you've got negative 4 times 1 times negative 6. So that's a positive, was that 24? So this winds up being 49 under the radical. Did you get that?
Yeah, I got that
Oh,
far.
great. So we get m equal, no, it's probably just a goofy mistake then. So negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 49 all over 2. And we know the square root of 49, that's just 7.
Okay, I see where I messed up.
You see it?
Yep. I
So, and,
didn't finish the square root.
oh no. Yeah, you got to finish the
Yep.
square root. 49 is 7. So now we can, because we can add the top 2, we have to split these, right? So negative 5 plus 7 over 2 and negative 5 minus 7 over 2. So this would be 2 over 2. That's just 1. This would be what, negative 12 over 2? So negative 6. But again, okay, so just a review from like chapter 7 stuff, or actually from chapter 5 stuff, we could have factored this. So when you get to the final, I'm not going to know how you solve it, right? But this factors into m, well, plus 6 and minus 1. Multiplies to give me the negative 6, adds to give me the positive 5. Remember, we set each one of these equal to 0. And we wind up with the same two answers, right? So it's kind of like, it's really a lot easier to factor if it's factorable. Now look, when you get, when you did this homework, you got a lot of goofy answers like 1 plus or minus the square root of 57 all over 8. Those aren't factorable. Okay, if you have a radical left over, it's not factorable. You couldn't do this bottom part. Okay. This one's hot. Okay. Questions? Ooh. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me go back and make sure I've got the right sections from test 1. I'm going to go into your Blackboard real fast. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was 3-1, 3-2, 3-3, and 3-4. Okay. Yeah, so it's 3-1, 3-2, 3-3, and 3-4. So if we go back to that chapter, and I'm going to go to the review from that chapter, which it starts on page 259. Yeah, I'm going to start with number 9. So I would to kind of review back on that test. It actually starts on page 260 then for number 9. Number 9, and it was just graphing linear equations. 9. Let's choose one that's a little different. Okay, let's say 11, 12, 13, and 14 from that first part. And then you've got to know how to find the slope. So like 15, 17, yeah. And then, yeah, determining the slope from the graph. So I know you got all the answers to these, so I'm going to try to just kind of find a few that are different. So 20, 22. I'm not worried about that one. Oh, yeah. So 27 and 30. 31 and 32. Oh, we had the parallel stuff, yeah. Say 35 and actually, I know these are out of order just because I saw them out of order. My bad. 35 and 34. 38. And then 43. 47. 48. 49. 50. 51. I specifically remember one like 51 and 52. Yeah. And so this is a good review from test 1. And so you've got graphing a line, kind of the basics of graphing a line. And then you have finding the slope, which is important. It's for college algebra 2. Finding the slope. And then you've got finding the equation of a line. That's really what's in here. Okay. Graphing, finding the equation of a line. Oh, understanding y equals mx plus b. But that's kind of the heart of that that test, and it actually is kind of the heart of the what's asked on the final. Okay. Okay. I'm here for any questions. Now, I think some of you guys have emailed me. I haven't been able to check it yet. If you emailed me last night, I woke up in a rush. So I have not checked it. So if you emailed me, I have not emailed you back. You guys have any other? I mean, let me see how long the test is. I do want to see if it'll just tell me. Click on it. You got 2 hours and 30 minutes. Okay, so you got 2 hours and 30 minutes, and it just like the other test. Once you start, you have to stop. So you've got to once you start, you have to complete it. Okay. That's okay, Janie. Hey, listen, this, and you can go back and watch this. It's on page 259. This is the review for test 1 because I couldn't get the test loaded in. So that's just the review for test 1 to go back and look at it. Guys, I mean, if you're not going to ask any questions, it's going to be a short day, short lecture. I'll wait. No big deal.
I actually had a question over 8.1.
Okay.
I was gonna ask it yesterday, then of course I couldn't come to class, but in the homework, let me see if I can find it. Give me just a second.
Okay.
Okay, so on page 596 in the book,
Okay.
number 51, I just for some reason could not get a good answer on it.
Okay, and I'm going to tell you right now, this would be the one I would do the quadratic formula on. But I want, you know what? Let's go through it. And I want to show you what you would have to do for completing the square. Okay. Because this is not the easiest question. If you were going to do completing the square on this, the first thing you would have to do is divide everything by 3. So you get p squared minus 4p plus 2/3 equals 0, right? Then you'd move the 2/3 over. Put the box. So you'd have negative 2/3 on the other side, right? Did you get to here, Jamie?
Yeah, I did.
Now, we're going to put p, it's going to be a -2, right? Because you divide by 2 squared. You square that, so you put a 4 there, right? And then negative 2/3 plus 4, well, that's over here. I'm going to put negative 2/3 plus, that would be like 12/3, right? So it's going to be 10/3, right? It's going to take some skills. We haven't done one harder like this, right? So I take the square root of both sides. Don't forget the plus or minus. So I'm left with p, p minus 2 equals plus or minus. Now I've got to take the square root of the top and bottom, right? But neither one of these has a nice square root. Well, listen, right now I'm going to pause this because I can't have a radical in the denominator. So because I can't have a radical in the denominator, I have to rationalize it. I know we didn't do an example like this, and it's because I would use the quadratic formula. But let's rationalize this. So to rationalize this one, I just have to multiply by the square root of 3 on top and bottom. So p minus 2 equals plus or minus, well, this would be the square root of 30, right? 10 times 3 over the square root of 9. So y minus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 30 over 3. So we had to rationalize the denominator, and then we can finish it out and try to make it look like the answer in the book. What number was this one again? 51? Okay. So now I've got to add 2 to the other side. So y equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 30 over 3, right? Now look, that still doesn't look like the answer in the back of the book because they want you to combine this under one fraction. So to do that, we have to get the common denominator. So for 2, that would be 6/3, right? And now because we have the common denominator, we can't add the tops, right? This is an integer and a radical, but we can make it one fraction. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I didn't rationalize the denominator. That's where I was struggling at.
I totally wouldn't expect you to do that. Let's do the same one, but with the quadratic equation, okay? And you're going to see that it's going to be just easier. Gosh, not as much steps. Okay, so if we did 3p squared minus 12p plus 2 equals 0. With the quadratic equation, I'm going to go right into it. So p equals negative b, so that's 12, plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. Under the radical, we get 144 minus, that's 12 times 2, so 24. So we'd get, is that 120 under the radical? I got to break down 120. I'm just going to do it here. So that's going to be what? 10 times 12, 5 times 2, 2 times 6, which is 3. Okay, so there's a lot going on here, but there's only one pair of 2s. Okay, there's a 5, a 2, and a 3 that don't match up. So this would be p equals 12 plus or minus the square root of 120 over 6. 120 simplifies into this. So 12 plus or minus 2 square root of 5 times 2 times 3. That's 30 over 6. And then the 12, 2, and 6 are all divisible by 2. So I know I kind of zoomed through that one, but you can see we got the same answer, right? Can't really fit that in, but we get the same answer. It's just that this one is a better quadratic. Like once I saw that when you divide that 3 on all of them and it caused a fraction as one of the numbers, I was done. I'm done with the completing the square. Completing the square for me is just I'm only going to use it in very specific situations, very specific situations. But actually completing the square is where you get the quadratic formula. Like it's where it comes from. So if you look at, let's say we've got ax squared plus bx plus c. I haven't done this in a while. Let's see if I can do this. So the quadratic equation really comes from completing the square. So it looks like this. If I was going to do completing the square without numbers, I'm going to move the c over. Actually, I'm going to divide everything by a, right? So I get x squared plus b over ax plus c over a equals 0. Okay, you don't have to work along on this one if you don't want to. It's kind of interesting though. And then remember the next thing we've got to move this over to get the box. So we'd have x squared plus b over ax plus some box, right, equals now let's see, negative c over a plus some box, right? Now, if we're going to make the perfect square trinomial, it's going to be a plus here. So we would remember we take the middle number and divide it by 2. Well, that's the same as just multiplying a 2 in the denominator. Okay, so multiplying a 2 in the denominator, that's the same as dividing by 2. So b over a divided by 2 is just b over 2a. Now remember, we have to square this to put it in the box. So if we're going to square this to put it in the box, we have to square all 3 parts. So we wind up with b squared over 4a squared. Okay, So b squared over 4a squared goes in here. So cleaning it up, we really wind up with negative c over a plus b squared over 4a squared. Okay. Now look, we've got to make this where we have a common denominator. So to do that, I need to look, we've already got 1a here. We're fine. But we need a 4, so I'm going to multiply 4 on top and bottom. And I need another a, right, on top and bottom. So this winds up being x plus b over 2a squared equals, now look, this is negative 4ac, right? Negative c times 4a, that's, if you write it in order, it's negative 4ac, all over 4a squared, right? 4 times a, plus b squared over 4a squared. Now look, just because we don't write the quadratic formula in this order, look, we can combine them now because we have the same denominator, but I'm going to write the b squared first. So we wind up with x plus b over 2a squared equals, b squared comes first, minus 4ac all over 4a squared. Okay? So it took a while, right? But on the right, we wind up with a single fraction. So now we've got to take the square root of both sides. We cannot forget the plus or minus, okay? I'm going to start all the way back up here. So on the left, we're left with x plus b over 2a, right? But on the right, we take the square root to the top. So I'm going to take the plus or minus to the top, b squared minus 4ac. And on the bottom, we take the square root of 4a squared. So we wind up with x plus b over 2a on the left. On the top, we can't do anything because there's a minus sign. But on the bottom, we can take the square root of the 4 and the a squared. That's just 2a, right? Now we move the b over 2a over. That's we subtract it, right? So let me write that here. X equals, so negative b over 2a plus or minus the square root of b squared over 4ac all over 2a. They've got the same denominator. You can combine them. Ta-da! We have the quadratic equation. That's where it comes from. Kind of crazy, okay? So the quadratic equation really comes from completing the square on an a squared plus b squared, or ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, okay? That's where the quadratic equation comes from. You do not have to know that. I'm not quizzing you on it by any means, but I'm just kind of showing what's up with it. I'm just kind of showing you where it's coming from. Okay, questions? Taking you down that trip. That's kind of crazy. That's some algebra. That is, I mean, that's legit. Okay, so for studying for the test, I mean, if you just want a general, what do I need to study for? What do I need to look at? I would, of course, go back to here for test 1. And then all of the other tests that are in your grade book, I would do those, to study those. And then for 8.1 and 8.2, I would really just look at the quadratics. I mean, look at, it's all the homework you've done up to this point. But any of the homework that I assigned in 8.1 and 8.2, because I didn't assign anything weird in either one of them, it was just solving quadratic equations. Okay. So there's nothing weird on it with the quadratics anyway. It does, Amanda, what Amanda asked me yesterday, like it is going to separate the answers. And I know I've said this already, but like if you get 5 plus or minus the square root of 7 over 2, well, the answer is going to be written as 5 plus the square root of 7 over 2 and 5 minus the square root of 7 over 2. Okay. Okay, do you guys have, I mean, it's been 30 minutes. Do you guys have any questions? So again, it's going to open up. It's open now, actually, if you want to take it, but it's open now. It's going to close Thursday at midnight. You've got 2.5 hours to take it. Just get it done. I can't let you take it late because I have to turn in grades. So if I let you take it late, you won't be able to go into the next class. So that's where the issue is. Okay. So you've got to get it done over these 2 days. I can't think of anything else. I mean, it looks like all the other tests you've taken, it's multiple choice. Yep.
Now, I have a question.
What's up?
How will we know if we passed our final or passed the class?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Because and Letitia brought up something, and a few other students have emailed me. Like, I know some of you, your grade isn't where you want it to be, but I'm gonna kind of look at the final a little bit more than I really would in the previous on the previous classes. So if you have like a really rough grade right now and you're going to the final and you need it, because you have to have at least a 70 to pass, right? But if you do well on the final, I'll take that into consideration. So Letitia, if you want to email me after the final, that would be the best way to do it for those of you that are kind of close. And I don't mind looking at it. Now, if I'm not at a laptop or anything, I can't do it real fast, but I'll definitely I'll be working on it Friday morning, right?
Okay.
Because I'll have to get those grades in. So yeah, that'd be the best way to do it. Yeah, I am taking that into consideration. This has been the weirdest semester so far. And okay, so let's just talk a little bit about college algebra, because I haven't talked much about it. I haven't created that class yet in Blackboard. It's already ready to go, but you're gonna need the book. I'll email you out the book soon. I'll put that on my to-do list. The book is really actually cheap if you buy it on the internet. Okay, it's really cheap. It's only like $10 maybe, but it's called. Hold on, I'll write it down here for you. It's in my other class. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm just not sure what edition we're using because we changed it recently, but it's still what's happening is we're using an older edition book, which makes it where the cost is down for you guys to buy it. Click on the wrong button. Syllabi. Yeah, it's called College Algebra. Oop, that's not how you spell college. College Algebra. 6th edition. It's by Blitzer. You're going to see a chili pepper on the cover when you Google that or go to Amazon or whatever. That's the one you need. But make sure it is the 6th edition. Okay. So if you want to buy that over the weekend, I know it might take a day or two to come in, but if you want to buy that over the weekend, that's where we're going to start. I'll tell you, just like this semester, the first day on Monday, we are going to do, I need you to do it completely online. I know Janie and Kyle have been showing up. Kyle, did you hear me? Just do it completely online, because that way I can get everything ready for it. We'll have a few more students come in that weren't in the class this semester that needed to take college algebra, so they just chose to take it second 7 weeks. So I'll have a complete like review day that first day, and we'll just go over the syllabi, go over the schedule, go over all that stuff. It'll be like a housekeeping day like we had for this class. So don't worry about the first day. The second day is when we'll get into actual lecturing for college algebra. Okay, that'll be exciting. Then we'll be, hey, in 7 weeks, actually 8 weeks now, you guys, a lot of you will be done with academic math forever. Congratulations. Well, I'm not congratulating you yet. I guess you got to pass. But it's not too far away. And I'm excited. I know you guys, overall, this class has done really well compared to previous. If you wanted to compare it to like previous test grades for other class, you guys are really kind of on par. There isn't much drop off. I mean, the one advantage you guys do have is you get to take it multiple choice at home, open book. And in other classes, they wouldn't get that. But the other classes also got a fully seated lecture that, in my opinion, is a little better than what we're doing now. Probably if you struggle with, paying attention, it would be really tough to just sit there in front of a computer for an hour and 15 minutes. Okay. And I would suggest, I think I think in the future, what I'm going to suggest is, if you are one of those people, watch this later and like press pause, go do something else, come back, press play, I kind of put breaks in there like that if you watch it after. Okay. Any questions though? I know that's just me ranting about academia and all the issues. Okay, I'll stay on here for a few more minutes. I'm going to stop the YouTube live.